You see this little dot right here? I hate this dot. It's a part of vocal automation, aka the thing that lets you hear every syllable clearly in a mix. It's essential for modern upfront vocals, but to get it right, you have to draw hundreds of these things manually. And I'm sick of it. So instead of spending hours drawing these dots over again, I decided to build an entire plugin to do it for me. And it worked out so much better than I thought it could. Check this out. You see that? I'm not doing anything. That's automatic. It's automatic. But this plugin did not happen overnight. No. There were a lot of ups and downs along the way. Before you start typing in the comments, I know what you're thinking. Mattie, why don't you just use the plugins that already exist? Or, Mattie, why don't you just add more compression to your vocal? Fair questions, but let me explain why. Trust me, I have tried to solve this problem before, but the plugins that exist out there to do it don't work that well. Almost every time I use them, I just get weird volume jumps between phrases that just sound robotic and not good. Like what is that? Pretty much every time I use them, I have to go back and manually adjust them anyways. And if I'm gonna do that, why not just do it manually in the first place? Also, just a side note, this is probably the main vocal writer plugin that you know. I feel like this plugin looks like it's straight out of 2005. Which some of you watching are probably weren't even born then. But part of the reason why all of these plugins feel off is because they don't hear music the same way that humans do. Most auto mixing plugins just hear audio peaks, or in other words, just straight math. Humans don't hear peaks. We hear loudness. Take a word like subscribe. The computer sees it as 3 distinct parts. It hears the sub, the scry, and the b. And when it adjusts, it analyzes how loud or how soft these waveforms are and adjusts automatically. So these, it might boost, it might come down here. And then when it gets to this transient, it might freak out a little bit and sound weird. Across the entire phrase, there's a lot of volume changes that result in a weird robotic sound. Real mixing and real humans intuitively know that this is just one entire phrase, and they know that this transient doesn't necessarily need to be affected like a writer might do it. It's this reason right here, which is why I struggle using things like Vocal Writer, because it ends up just sounding jittery, ends up sounding nervous, and more importantly, doesn't sound good. And the other solution that you're probably thinking of is just to add more compression, right, Mattie? That works, but to a point. The more compression you add to a vocal, the more life and energy you suck away. And if you want that expensive sound, it's almost essential to gain stage before going into a compressor to get the best results. The more consistent the vocal is before compression, the better results that you'll get. So no, I'm not crazy for wanting this. I just wanted a tool that didn't exist yet. I needed something that understood gain staging a bit better than the options. Something that could visually show me what it was doing a lot better than Wave's Vocal Writer. And so I decided to build it. The first 50 iterations of this plugin were absolutely terrible, bad smelling garbage. Some of them worked okay, but they didn't look good. Some of them looked great, but had no functionality, and pretty much every flavor of that in between. Now, mind you, I am not a C++ developer. I am a music producer. I do know how to code JavaScript well enough to have it as a little bit of a side hustle, building websites for people, but I know nothing about audio programming. But I quickly found out that coding a website like I'm used to is a very different task than coding a fully fledged audio plugin. And because of that, I turned to AI to help me learn how to code this thing. I like to think I hired this guy as my development intern that somehow knows 5 times more than I do. But as with most interns, the first iterations that I got of this plugin from the AI were bad. But even though the first iterations weren't that great, I continued to progress and get better. I learned more about audio processing as a whole. I learned some fancy words that I'd never heard of before, like anti-aliasing, interpolation, and advanced metering techniques to make this plugin look amazing. I had no idea what I was doing when I started, but every day I slowly made more and more progress. But after a month of perseverance and chatting with an AI bot like it's my therapist, and most importantly, learning the archaic language of C++, I came up with something that I actually think sounds pretty good. So here it is. It's called Magic.RIDE. It's taken a lot of iterations to get here, but I'm happy with the final result. You can see when I first put on the plugin, it starts working immediately. Anything above this purple line is adding gain. Anything below it is taking it away. We can adjust where this purple line is, whether it's target line, or just by dragging it. We can also adjust how much we want it to go up or down in terms of range with this range knob here. Also see it with these dash lines.
All that time I wasted.
You can adjust how fast it works with this knob here. Now here's one of the biggest reasons why I think it differs from some of the other things on the market. First of all, you have a lot more control. If you go into the advanced panel here, you can see we have attack, release, hold. We also have breath reduction. We also have a transient detection mode, which lets you give more natural sounding transients. You can change the algorithm of what it's using between RMS or LUFS. And then we can also add in look ahead for even more high fidelity writing. Now, if that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry, but here's something that I think will matter a lot. This button right here called natural. So whenever the natural button turns on, it actually auto recognizes phrases in a vocal and creates a more natural human-like ride so that it doesn't sound so wonky. Check it out. You can see that it's on by this green light here.
All that time I wasted on you. On you.
And because it identifies these phrases, it gives a much smoother vocal ride that sounds so much more human-like. To push this to its limits, I'm going to record a very dynamically inconsistent vocal so you can hear how well it does to mix it.
2 bad years in a sinking ship. We're doomed. We're doomed.
Check it out without it.
2 bad years in a sinking ship. We're doomed.
Now, typically, it would take a few gain point automations actually going in here, but you don't have to do that anymore. Check it out with it on.
2 bad years in a sinking ship. We're doomed.
Much more dynamically consistent, and all I had to do was click on a button. Now, let's say I did want more control, like Wave's Vocal Writer. I can always turn on the automation to latch. I can turn this automation on to latch, and it will literally write itself, and I can just do all the work later.
2 bad years in a sinking ship. We're doomed.
My hands aren't touching the keyboard at all. This plugin is going to save me a ton of time. It already sounds so much better, and we hardly dial in any of the settings. I may be biased here, but it's pretty cool. And what's more important is I finally have a plugin that saves me from drawing hundreds of dots of automation. Yes. And what's even cooler is that you too can use it. The full plugin will come out February 10th. But if you're interested, you should join the waitlist in the description below. In it, you'll get early access to the plugin before then, and you'll get a massive 50% off discount at launch. I'm super excited for you guys to get your hands on it and start using it in your mixes. It's the Magic.RIDE without the carpet. I'm still workshopping slogans. See you in the next one.